In English, we tend to make a distinction between count nouns and non-count nouns. And we do that because it really helps us understand when we need to use an article. So, a count noun is a noun that, as the name implies, is countable. You can count the number of items. And it's good just to start with an example right away. So we'll put the examples down below here. If we take an example like book, for instance, okay, then we can count it. We can say 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, and so on. And as you can see here, count nouns can be either singular or plural. By contrast, non-count nouns are uncountable. Uncountable. And if we give an example right away again, take the example of milk here. We don't tend to say 1 milk, 2 milks, 3 milks, and so on. Milk is an uncountable noun. Now, non-count nouns tend to deal with a mass of something. Okay, a mass, a kind of something, a category, it's another good word. And this category, we don't count the individual members. So with milk, for instance, we don't count every drop of milk. Similarly, an example would be something like silver, right? That's a category, a kind of metal. So we're not going to count every silver because we're dealing with this larger category. And that means that non-count nouns tend to be a little bit more abstract than count nouns. But that does not mean that abstract nouns, as opposed to concrete nouns, are all non-count. And let's see if we can make this distinction a little clear. So far, we've given examples of concrete nouns, right? Book, milk, silver. These are concrete things that you can see. Another example would be something like door. 1 door, 2 doors, and so on. But we can also add the category of abstract nouns, and these can go in either category here. So for instance, we can count the number of ideas that you have, right? Or the number of concerns that are on your mind. And similarly, we can talk about, for instance, bravery over here. That's quite an abstract idea. Or knowledge. So knowledge as well is an abstract noun. And what you can see then is that these categories over here, abstract and concrete, they overlap with count and non-count. These are really two different ways of analyzing and categorizing nouns, and they're going to overlap a little bit. And that's perfectly fine. So try not to get confused by that. The last thing we need to mention here in terms of the general distinction between count and non-count nouns is that non-count nouns do not use a or un, so the indefinite article. So not with a or un. We don't say something like, could I have a milk? Okay. We could say, could I have a glass of milk or a jug of milk? And we can use other nouns to count the amount of milk, but we don't say, could I have a milk?